Hi, everyone. Today, me and Endless Midnight Moon are going to be talking about her newest Tapas novel, which is her anthology, Seeking Lull Tides. It is basically an anthology of short stories related to the cast of Beyond the Gray Skies, which is her main Tapas novel project. And this will cover a number of different characters who are not main characters in Beyond the Gray Skies. So, Endless Midnight Moon, can you tell us a little bit more about the anthology?
Okay, I think I'll start by reading it out. The anthology is this is an anthology series about the earlier events that surround my main work, Beyond the Grey Skies. It centers around many different characters as they try to survive the revolution that's upended their world and trying to seek a change that they feel is permanent and one day they agree with. It takes place during an alternative world inspired by the French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars. I won't say it follows it very strictly, and honestly, I have no idea what am I going to include, what I'm not going to include.
Mm-hmm.
And also because a lot of the stuff he covers is it may not just be purely about the revolution. It may also showcase, it might also start moving to other locations too, other places. And yeah, and a lot of this inspiration is like, you know how crazy the French Revolution was. It wasn't it's like you read the actual details, you find out the tales of everybody who lived down there. People were kind of had very complicated feelings about everything.
Right, exactly. So I think this can really help us gain a better sense of the scope of your world building, as well as learn a little bit more about some of the other nations that you haven't had that many stories written about. For example, Coppets, right? Do you think we'll have any
Actually, we will.
stories that take
Yes, we
place
will.
there from the point of view of a character there, for example?
Actually, I do think I might actually just give me a good idea because I will really plan very hard, very much about what was it going to include, what else is going to include, because a lot of it could also be a bit, there might be a bit of foreshadowing what's going on in the anthology too. So I won't lie that there might be some stories that might foreshadow certain events in the future. And yeah, and I think it's like although I would start off, I want to start off a very familiar place. I don't want to start off immediately pushing you immediately to somewhere that you have no idea who half of these people are.
Absolutely. So the first story you have here, which you published on August 15th, 2021, the first part anyways, is called Leaving Behind the Pieces. And it's about one of the characters that you mentioned before on a previous podcast episode with you, Restituta. And she is Annibale and his siblings' mother, correct?
Yeah, he is their mother, and it doesn't really showcase a very the residual we will actually see where anybody feels and sees his mother, because like their feels for mother is somewhat simple but not actually that complicated too. And a lot is somewhat simple but not yet but also quite complicated. And the fundamental is just like at this point, this stage of her life, I would say what really characterizes her is just like she has to grow up very fast in a place that she doesn't really feel quite comfortable with. She has to grow up very fast because she knows that her parents have kind of up and left her. The only person, her guardians are, oh, Chichina is decent. Chichina's a pretty decent person to take care of kids. But then Federico is pretty young. I think when I say, how to say this, if I would say immediately, it's like, if I feel as though what really characterizes her right now is something like, mm, basically is this sentence out here. You don't have to talk to me like that. She had gotten used to it, but yes, it's like she had got because like she in sense it says like she's gotten used to dealing with adults like in a very obedient sense, in the sense that she and her brother been left alone to most part to their own devices for quite a while. Although Leonora tries, but like she's an old woman that there are some limits to what she can do. She can and cannot do.
Absolutely. So in the first part, I recall that they were moving from the convent, which they had been previously living at,
Yeah, and
right?
they're actually living with Federico, their uncle, to go to somewhere else. That he's going to live with his sister because right now I don't think he has a house yet. He's still because again I think because Federico right now is 20 years old. Like he's been mostly living in Ravenna. He's been trying to make it as a lawyer, ironically.
Mhm. Right, exactly. So I think this is a big change in the family's story, right? After this moving. And we're going to see a lot of, literally leaving behind the pieces because they are leaving pieces of their past behind, especially with what happened to their parents.
And actually, I think the most relevant reason I wanted to share with you the third part of the stories because it does showcase a lot. It does shed light on a lot of the tiny little things that showcases in before like that isn't showed to Restituta is because this is what Federico knows, that honestly he had a very narrow little shave with like he had a narrow little shave though, because like how should I say this? He had almost been exiled. He had spent his time in the prison. He had lost whatever hell he had in Ravenna. It's like it's pretty nerve-wracking for him. And then now he's gotten out, but then he's not saddled with the expectation of taking care of two kids. It's not like the expectation was that he would eventually take them to Sicilia.
I see.
Is the expectation was just that he would take them to Sicilia, and maybe because like if they didn't do it, Sicilia would be considered belonging to a different separate family. So there's the thing. So it has to be like something of a personal choice thing. And I because like how should I say this? I would say this also has to do with the mother Pompeia as a whole. And as a result, there's a lot of things that neither Pompeia nor Federico are telling Restituta right now because she's still so young. And but then it gives Restituta a sense of world weariness.
Right, exactly. And I think sorry. Go ahead.
Go on.
Sorry. Yeah, so Restituta is someone who's gone through a lot, as you said, and I think this kind of impacts how she interacts with her own children, kind of passing on a world weariness to maybe some of them, right?
Or rather, it's more like she doesn't feel as though there's a need to shield them from the very hard parts of life because it's a part of your life now. Yeah, it's that element. It's like, and also because like I think it's like we haven't really seen a lot of what she chose to do for her career, what she thought was a good idea. We're just seeing a very young person, but that work weariness made her feel so like, well, honestly, a child could really cope with it if they knew what it was. Like she never really, it's like on the one hand, she gave them all the love they ever had, but on the other hand, she never really tried to lie to them about how great the world was.
I think that's realistic. I think she did a good job of balancing expectations with reality.
And also because like, she also had, I think by the end of it, she had very little expectations of her own when it came to raising her own children. But that at the end of this, this world weariness would really bring her to a lot of different places. And honestly, I think it's like fundamentally it's like she and Federico will have a very good relationship fundamentally. And how should I say this though? There's one more section. One more section. Okay, like basically there's one section here that's reviews of Federico's like, I get it, you have almost been exiled. And basically it's like even he's been doing a lot of stuff, like he's not sure, he's struggling here.
Exactly.
And also, although I can say that I think maybe Federico rubbed off Restituta in the sense that the both of them would always try to be the best kind of parents they could be, even though they weren't exactly ready, but they kind of knew what it meant to like raise. They knew what it meant, and I think it's like Chichen had a strong influence on Federico. It's like she's the one who's really helping him figure out stuff and helping him deal with all these things because he's very new, and in a sense it kind of really rubbed off on him in the future that when he became a parent he was mostly he got really good, and right now it's like he's a struggling lawyer, but maybe you see his fate change, his fortune change a little bit in the future.
Absolutely. So after this story, I see in your queue that you have a new story called Tempered Weeds, which is coming out in September. I guess without spoilers. Yeah, go ahead.
Actually, go ahead. The spoilers for this series, it doesn't cover neither Restituta, it doesn't really cover Federico. Instead, it covers the complicated family relationship that I came up with for Restituta's former fiance Cosimo.
Oh, I see. Interesting. So this is all kind of tied in with Restituta. The first story is about her as a kid, and now we have something about her to be fiance, ex-fiance.
Ex-fiance.
Right.
Actually, her very ex. I mean, it's like, yeah, her ex-fiance. Yeah, that's what I think so too. And I think it's like but then it's like I definitely cover one more part. It's like basically the only person who I think who really can grasp what Restituta really is probably Cecilia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can see like basically here's the thing. Can I listen to your promise now? Restituta like them. They always felt so they swept her up her feet. Oh, child, now you still can. Now you woman, life isn't as easy anymore. She touched her cheek. She wants Restituta to have some hopes of life, have her to enjoy it, but she can. I think it also comes a bit of Cecilia too. Like she's also a woman. She is a poet though, and she likes to and she loves life as in general. And I think it's because like she always had some And I think maybe it's because like right now, I think a secret is just that I'm trying to figure out, is it because that she has probably suffering with some illnesses in the background, but then she never really shows it very apparently though. But then it's like it probably won't be until way later though that it will show up. It's just that right now it's like Chicha loves life in general. She's kind of, she has some issues with her health, and that has made her appreciate it more.
Yeah, this part is very touching, especially after how Restituta could feel her cheek warming with tears now. And that in the next sentence about her mother and her father, that really conveys a lot of childhood feelings and memories, which, she is starting to realize that this will not last forever.
Yeah, and also because eventually she has a pride that, and Chicha is telling her that don't worry about it so much now because it's not your problem right now.
Exactly.
And I think that was something very important because like it's like Resident can grow up fast, but I don't think Chicha wants her to grow up that fast because like it can be a very bitter experience, honestly. Because like to not have the chance to experience that childhood joy when you were a child, and she still wants that for. And yeah, that's why I say Chicha will be very like a very good person to take care of them. And honestly, it's because like how should I say this? There's another part of it that I never really show that it's a bit about Pompeii about why is she leaving? Why did she choose to leave? Yes, basically, I guess that was before we go into become a guardian. Yes, they are not my they are my responsibility, and she entrusted them to me. But I don't know whether I should accept it. You're a good person. Perhaps that's why she chose you. Like there's an element of it that Pompeia didn't trust her family. She didn't trust because in this case, there's a chance that probably if Federico got exiled, there's a chance they probably pass to Cosimo's father, who is awful by all means.
Oh, I see.
The Hamburg is referring to Cosimo here. Like he's going to have a very difficult relationship with his father, and he'll probably escalate into a lot of different places.
I see. And we'll find out more in Tempered Weeds, right?
Yeah, we will find out more in Tempered Weeds. And I think the reason why is like this series, I don't know why is it that this series feels so dark, but then it feels so sad when compared to what I usually write. But then it felt fitting because like it gives message to her that said it helps me to capture what really made her who she was, although there's still a hell lot more to her than just that.
Right, exactly. So the main reason you chose to write this anthology is to explore some of the minor characters in Beyond the Gray Skies, and I think more of the world building, right?
Yeah, and also more the background characters that I never had a chance to explore. Maybe sometimes might be some explanation, or might give you more details as to what exactly happened because like Pompeia has appeared in the series a couple of times, but then she's not really she's somewhat complicated, but also somewhat not complicated.
Right, exactly. So on average, as you said on the Instagram live, each story in the anthology is about maybe 5 or 4 chapters.
Yeah, it could go longer, but currently I don't see it because when I divide it up, it's like I have to try to think. I just had to write it to a certain scene point that feels like it feels fitting to end. I haven't really gotten a few very very long chapters, right? I haven't gotten very long stories currently speaking. Just like right now, it's like I can easily explore it now, like maybe 2,000, 3,000, maybe sometimes. I think Temple was around 5,000. I don't know how long it will be when I actually get to the end.
Right. And in general, I guess you don't really know yet how many stories will be in the anthology, right? Because they come.
I'm actually thinking about going to explore Nicolo's side of the family, and because I already know what's going to happen down there, and although it's part of it, is because like, it would just show you glimpses. I think because the most important because like I have a very good. It's because of certain idea of growth, like growth of characters, like as they grow along. And yeah, Poppy might appear in the future as a character because I think her POV is going to be very interesting to write because right now she's kind of bitter. She's kind of bitter,
I
jaded, and kind
see.
of cynical.
Right, exactly. And I guess what else can we expect from the anthology?
I might choose to explore like other characters who have never been appeared in the series before, like but I know what's roughly their story or why are they here, and maybe there might be a bit of like tiny bit of foreshadowing here and there, but then we'll see. Yeah, but then I don't think anybody will feature very heavily into any of this series at all. And yeah, it's just like Restituta as a whole. It's a very like she's very work very, but then a little on to go along. I might really do her make more stories about her, about how she gets to where she is eventually. More of a adult, more of a teenage Restituta. So there's a difference in that. And Nicolo's gonna be I kind of think that Nicolo I would show his childhood, where he came from, and maybe parts of his family that we never had a chance to see,
That makes
or whether
sense.
it just doesn't have a chance to see. And I think for me, parts of it is like the next series is just to cover a bit of like the other characters that I didn't know about. And yeah, because like, it's like basically Cosimo is also Renata's elder brother.
Right. Right. So mostly Restituta and Nicolo's family.
Right, currently right now that's what I have an idea, and I might cover one more. Actually, I might think about covering more of Coptic now, because I do have an idea in Coptic, and now I really want to like explore a bit more about it, because like now I understand the now I'm not just doing a lot more research currently speaking. I'm more like trying to piece together things about certain parts of the world and then I slowly make my own, like, okay, so what exactly happened down there, and then try to figure it out. And I think it's just like Federico. I think another part of it is about Federico is just like but his time is still kind of pretty pure. I guess he's still very new to things, and I think I tried to help him out in some stuff. And Chicha trying to show him that because like he has a good heart. He's somebody with a very good heart in his personal life. He's not the kind that. And honestly, though, because like Pompeia is a very decent person. She's pretty good at judging people though. And honestly, she kind of like Federico much more than Lorenzo's other cousins. And I think she became really cynical after she found out about her family though. But then we covered that in the future story.
Right. So, this is a really great introduction to our anthology. And, anyone who wants to subscribe, please check out the subscription for a link to, this anthology, and also Beyond the Gray Skies as well. So
I think maybe another question we can have is like why did I exactly write this anthology right now?
Right. So why did you exactly choose to write the anthology right now?
I think it's because back to the old podcast question was just like I had all these ideas, I had all these certain details I think I figured out. Then I want to just put them into here. And also secondly, it's also trying to like, I don't know, it's just really experimentation, like, because it allows me to do certain things that I don't think I would try in my main story, because like my main story has a lot of timelines. I have to make sure things kind of fit together at the end of the day. Not fit together, more like they cannot have incredibly long stretches of time when like we're doing it. Oh wait, they get a date right again. Oh my god, can they actually get there in the same point? Whereas here I could do a lot of time jumping. I could definitely skip forward, skip back depending on what I really want to look at. And it's because like also trying to explore different stories. And I don't know why. Maybe it's a tragedy. Maybe because I kind of like tragedies. That's why I'm like, why am I writing such sad stories? What's the first part of the next chapter, since this is gonna come in November, it's gonna be out by then already. Cosimo watched the coffin as first week slow down.
Wow, yeah, it's definitely more negative than Beyond the Gray Skies.
Cosimo watched the coffin as raised to the ground. He rubbed his tears in absolute fear. His father hated tears to be seen in front, and yet scolded him. He must not be emotional, he told himself. But he misses so much. He wanted her there, but she was gone, and he was now alone. Oh, I got to fix the error. Then he felt her on the shoulder. It was comforting. His mother used to do that when he was younger, and it comforted him. It was not his father, for he would never do this. It was his cousin Federico who looked at him. It's a very, very negative story.
It's all right.
I get it. But then I think for me, the story is going to have a more of a happy ending, because I know where it's Cosimo going to end up eventually, though. Yeah, I kind of really kind to turn into an end. It's more like I think because for me it's like the big events I have in mind kind of go down smaller as to go along. It's like the big events is like currently it's like I'm really focusing on Itoro, about the situation without Itoro. Was like it's kind of complicated and confusing, because there was like the problem is I remember I was actually reading out my the story. She's like, wow, there was so many kingdoms. Napoleon actually did them a favor. Oh my god, there were so many of them.
Right,
because
exactly.
The Republic of Venice, there was I think it was the Duchy of Parma. I know there's a couple other different duchies. There was the Papal States. There was I think by the 18th century, 18th century, it kind of looked more better than it was in the 17th century. It was like what is this map? There's like all these little things all over the place. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
the Holy Roman Empire often makes baby Jesus cry.
I see.
Yeah, it's really confused. It's like honestly because like it's I feel so like because like I'm trying to come in how it will be at that eventual situation. I might even cover Rancy as a whole and cover most what happened out there. Actually, I actually had an idea for Anthology initially, but it's like I couldn't really get it to work or the story was just didn't feel quite right. Whereas this one was just like I was just exploring the background. The story is a lot easier because the previous one I think had a very different feel. And honestly, do you know why is this his name Seeking Lull Tides?
Mm-hmm.
It took me so long to finally come up with a name because my title was Tales of the Revolution.
Oh, I see.
I didn't think that was very fitting because at the end it's like it will only be very specific to one thing, but I wanted something more general because that at the end of the revolution has a lot of rippling effects, and I wanted to show you that at the end of the day, like if that when it started to happen, it started rippling all over the places. Then it allowed us, the age of like the first half 19th century is like, why were there so many revolutions?
Mm-hmm.
It was
Right.
just really like
Exactly.
there was the Poland had like I think they say the Polish had a revolution every generation.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I mean
Yeah.
their last one was like their last final one I think before they restored as a country was 1863, but before them was 1820, 1800, 1840, and like they had revolution every generation.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I wanted to cover the rippling effects more and more about what it meant to like as it went bigger. And I think for me it's because it might also be like it also might cover parts like the being between like by covering the transition from like republic to an empire because like I finally had a chance to really read up about the French Revolution about why it ended the way it did. It's because at the same time on one hand I was reading this really amazing novel that was called the Women of Chateau de la Fayette.
Okay.
Isn't I can't show it. I don't know why my tangent, but it kind of but this was very recent. But then it's like it kind of showed it had one part where it said like the reason why it was like so mad because like you're choosing between the between an insane mob on one hand and completely corrupt aristocrats on the other hand. And are you surprised that the France just went crazy? Because like the both options are equally horrible. And I wanted to really explore that here. Although in Toro is this situation is just like I'm actually going to showcase more of the. It's not so bright and happy because like I think for me it's like the end point is going to cover is like it's going to cover the extremely complicated situations. We might even cover a few characters stuck in a few field revolts. I'm actually think of focusing more on the Dundari Empire as a whole. Like they were very interesting as a whole because like yeah their biggest strength was not the biggest weakness.
I see. Right.
Their
So,
ability to integrate people now became their biggest weakness because especially like the nationalism, like yeah, that really screwed the Ottoman Empire over.
right.
Like, it was still okay before that became a thing.
So definitely much more world building and finding out more about the other nations as well, and more of the
Yeah.
politics.
Yeah, a bit of politics. I won't say it's. I like to really focus on the very small characters, and I think for me it's like I don't know why do people always have to write about kings, but writing about kings can be quite hard because like every decision they make is going to have
That's
extremely
true.
rippling effects. But then if you
Hmm.
write about kind of small nobodies, and actually Federico is going to be in a very interesting position in a couple of years. So like we
Hmm.
might cover that how he got there in the first place because it's a pretty hilarious story.
I can't wait to find out how he gets there.
Yeah, I mean, in the first place, like he's like when you introduced him in the first series, like he's this like prime minister. He's been a very long. He's like a chancellor now. He's been there for quite a while. But then this is a much younger Federico, and he's like absolutely panicking about raising two kids.
Right, he
But then
is.
again, imagine if you're 28 and suddenly say you're now the war of two kids. I would say you freak out too.
Yeah, it says that he feels nothing but abject terror throughout the trip in the carriage. He wasn't sure how to
Yep.
handle children in his limited experience due to being the youngest in the family.
Yeah, he was the youngest of three, and,
Mhm.
and the last child his mother ever had.
Oh, yeah. So he always has been babied. He's
Yeah,
always
to an
seen himself as the child, but now he has to take
to
care
an
of children.
extent.
Yeah.
Another aspect to him being not being completely baby was that his father was a very stern man, and he and Lorenzo never really got along. Actually, Cosimo. Actually, the funny story is that Resita may have wanted to name a child Cosimo, but the problem was there was a Cosimo the elder and a Cosimo the younger. What was that become?
Oh,
Cosimo the third.
yeah. That's true. That's a very good
Yeah,
point.
it was a very sad affair. It's like she wanted to name her son Cosimo. Niccolo was perfectly okay with it, but like the child be called Cosimo the Third. I don't want to name my son may start with that name. I mean, because there was a real Roman Empire who really got stuck with that name, Gordon the Third. His grandfather was Gordon, his father was Gordon, so he became Gordon the Third.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I might cover a bit more of a naming trivia on this, where it's like anybody was one of the few names they could agree upon.
Yeah, it's not a very common name, is it?
Not particularly, but I think there was some ancestral background to the name, and I might. It's because like this, because you know sometimes like what's the funniest part I found about Anibale. I was a bored, and I was thinking what I was thinking like what it was, but then that I know that somebody there was some Italian count who was named Anibale or something like that. I forgot where it was, but I was just laughing when I saw it. But yeah, it's a relatively uncommon, but sometimes it pops up kind of Italian name.
Oh, I see. Yeah, it is pretty unique because it means Hannibal.
Let me just check. But it's sometimes like it's big enough that you can just rely on this. This immigration. Yeah. I mean, by this one time, research is my favorite thing to do now. I might be covering the Russian. I might be going to Russia next.
Oh, really?
For a very good reason. Russia is going to be a very interesting place to be.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. Let me just check. And also because like how should I say this? It's like Russia is gonna be because I think always like Russia is that Napoleon's real downfall started from Russia.
Oh, right, that's true. Oh, there's
Yeah.
that many Annibales.
Yeah. Oh, it was. I think it was this one, right? I don't think so. That many Annibalist. I'm looking for 1760 something one. No, probably maybe early 20. Yep, there was a lot of Annibalist. What can I say?
There's a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a somewhat common name, someone not entirely. There's even a film.
Yeah, but mostly in the 50s. I noticed that, yeah, it's not very modern. I think most people called Annibale are in like the way in the past.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, also because like she was naming after some illustrious ancestor in the past because there was no other name left that she could think of.
So do they usually choose names based on people who are already named that way in their family? They don't choose ones that have never appeared in the family.
I think it's because she kind of liked the name, to be fair. But then it's like Niccolo had a few ideas, and yeah, but then it's more famous people. Like Niccolo wanted name his son something like Nicefolo.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, because like it's probably like like basically it's because like it's very interesting name. It's like it's Greek because he's Greek, But then
Right,
Italians have
right.
a lot of Italians have very Greek names, and
Mm-hmm.
because he's from Deolia, he's very like Deolian, but then he's not going to name it after his father or his brother because she says she can't stand the name Constantine.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think when we just like recipes, like she's very picky about names because like I mean anybody eventually became like just says it's anybody, but then Amaranta was definitely Nicole's idea.
Mm-hmm.
Aridia, I'm not so sure. Aridia, I think it's a bit of both. Like on one hand, it's like she kind of on one hand, she kind of liked the name. On the other hand, Nicole had no idea what to name her daughter anymore. It's like she just wanted one daughter, Amaranta, and then he said, if I had a son, I would name him Nikifo. Like he never imagined having a very large family.
I see. And in his point of view, what is considered a large family? Like 5 kids?
I think four.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean honestly, because he was the middle of five. It's like he wasn't completely ignored as a child, but then I think he also saw the not so fun parts of his parents' life because like they kind of were kind of poor, although they somehow managed to keep like 3 to 5 kids fed, and it's like that's kind of amazing. But then it's like but then then it's just like he doesn't really want to repeat of that. And honestly, he's kind of a guy who he doesn't really want to like repeat his parents' mistake. And I think I'll definitely cover a bit of that in his family. There's also like other family members who might think differently. And also because like one of his poor brothers is what I should bring up the let me just bring up the website again. No, wrong one. Like there's a reason why he never named it after his brothers. One name is Hercules, Heracles.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like the also she wasn't really that interested in name either. And basically the other brother's name was something really really long. Yeah, no way. She said no way to this
Oh,
one.
wow.
he's agreeing. He say I'm shortening it most of the time. I never use his name.
Right. It is pretty hard to pronounce, I think, for a lot of people.
Yep. per person, and yeah, and I say, but then although you say, but it's like I think it's because like yeah, I feel so that when I name my characters, I don't really try very hard, but it's like yeah, I actually she never actually there's a couple other names that maybe that could be more palatable, but then Nicole just never really thought very hard about it.
Right.
Yeah, and honestly because it was like he was very happy. He was very convinced that Resitila would eventually actually warm up to the name Nikki follow. Actually, I would think she was very, very interested in it. Yeah, and I think it was like there's also like there's a reason why it's not Alfonso. Alfonso is painful. Alfonso is a painful memory for her. And she wants him, she loves him, but then naming my son after him, maybe not. It's just too uncomfortable with me.
Absolutely. So is there anything else you'd like to cover about your anthology, or
I will definitely say, but there's one more. It's like Chichira has like, actually there's also Fausto, which is Chichira's husband. You might see him a lot more in the future too. Now he's gonna be like eventually he's like he's a pretty chill guy, honestly.
I see. Yeah.
Pretty chill guy. Rich but chill. But he doesn't really like he's not very involved in the political things. He mostly just stay out of the whole affair because after he sees what it does to Lorenzo, he's like, no way.
Yes, definitely.
And yeah, after he sees what he does to Lorenzo and his family, he's like completely no way because honestly because because I'm actually basing it off the fact that a lot of the French Revolution, the generals, a lot of them got the wives got imprisoned. I mean, what the hell? But it was a real thing.
Right, because they wanted to punish the whole family, right?
Yeah, because one very famous person was the Empress Josephine and the husband.
Right.
She was in prison. Another famous one was Adrian, the Marquis de Lafayette.
No, I don't think so. Oh, okay.
It says his wife was also in prison. And her sister and her mother and her grandmother all got executed.
Yeah, I think
that's very, very extreme.
It is extreme, but I think they wanted to just stop anyone from possibly taking part in the revolution or just punishing all of them, right?
Yeah, so it was like very insane, and I think I followed that policy became the someone like Pompeia, although like the family had helped her out a lot in preventing anything from happening to her, but she said, you know what, she had a reason why she just said screw you and just left.
Exactly.
I'm actually thinking the third story might be really about her and her feelings because like she has a very complicated feeling with everybody now in her life. And yeah, I think this will probably cover up about it. It's like and honestly, because it also I think for the many it's because like Residual is kind of an orphan, but not quite. It's like she has people carry out for her, who looks after her, but it's like they're not going to be her mother or her father particularly. And that makes her slightly more like it also adds to their world very nice because like all those like they do genuinely care for her, they do, but then she kind of gets it that she's kind of on her own now. She's gonna have eventually to make her own way in the world. Although like honestly, because like, even currently speaking, she's like her entire family's monies have been confiscated. They don't have much money anymore left. Like Federico has been cut off from his fortune, the title, like it's all locked behind. They've been attained. Like, what's attainment mean, right?
That makes sense.
It's like a feudal system thing where they say, okay, because you did this, I'm just gonna cut your future children from inheriting anything.
I see.
And yeah, so even Rosita's she's gonna be needing to make her own way in the world. Like she marries, she probably had to. It's like she either relies on the charity, other people to provide for dowry, or she figures it out. Eventually, I think I would definitely say that she definitely figures it out on her own.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, Nicole is no great catch when you see him in the first place.
Yeah, I think we're gonna learn more about that too.
Yeah, also because in also leadership is just like Nicole is like, okay, fun. It's a social status, like Nicole was not her equal, but then at the point in time she was also a commoner, so whatever.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing so much about what's in store for the anthology and what we're going to be learning more about, especially about Niccolo, Cosimo, and the other characters we'll be reading more in depth later on. That's very exciting, and I can't wait to learn more.
One more person is where we'll be seeing a very young Renata probably in those early chapters though. Like she's a kind of I would say she's a rebel. I would definitely say she's a rebel now. Like you
Mm.
know, she never got married, like all that stuff. She's probably like she never really like. It might seem, but Cosimo, how it also affects like people like his sisters who end up they're also mothers now too. They have to figure out that and Cosimo is not a very warm man. He just sees his son as a bargaining chip to get glory, and his daughters as a bargaining chip to get rid of debts.
Exactly. Right. So that's another, we also read about Renata as well. So that's very exciting.
Yeah, and I think because like, that'll be a much more different Renata because Renata is like Renata like be a much more different person because Renata you kind of showcase Renata how she goes, but again, she's gonna be very young.
Mhm. Right. So yes, a lot of things are in store for us in this anthology. And is it updated every 2 weeks?
Once a week, but then I'll take a break between the stories.
Right, exactly. So that's good. Right. So everyone just subscribe to Seeking Lull Tides by clicking the link in the description. And also Beyond the Gray Skies is also in the description as well.
Thank you so much for having me
Thank you
on.
so much.
I'm just enjoying. I just don't know why, but this anthologies made me. It's just a lot of fun for me to write. It's more. It helps me to like get away from the fact that my narrative is like I have to I have to like I have to follow certain things. I cannot really break too much away from it. Although it's definitely a lot of fun, but I think this is more poignant. This is definitely a bit more more like showcasing different glimpses, and it's not so like how do I say? Sometimes I feel like not very not what's the word for it? I think it's more like it doesn't feel very slice of life. It doesn't really give you that sense of like growth and adventure or progression that I think that you get my series because I go a lot into business. I go a lot into things that happen as they go along, and I also go a lot to like deal making, and I do that a lot. But here I don't think I was do it so much because it's not a novel or something like that, so I don't need to show it as much.
Right, exactly. So it feels like you have a freer structure somehow. That's
Yeah,
that's what
and
makes it so fun.
I wouldn't trade it for Beyond the Risk guys, because it's still quite fun for me. It's just like this is like a way to step out of my usual
Hmm.
methods and to also to give like these characters that I already have developed so well a chance to like tell their stories in a very different setting.
Right, exactly. Thank you so much again.
No problem.
All right,
Thanks.
see
See
you.
you next time.
Bye.